Today we're going to talk about overthinking, which is something I have really struggled with, and it's something that I think it can be useful, obviously, but like thinking it can be useful, but overthinking and overdoing it can lead to struggles and problems and things that don't need to exist, don't need to be in your life. And I think of a lot of like problems and struggles, they often come with overthinking something that really is simple and doesn't really need to be thought a ton about. And yeah, so today I wanted to share three of the biggest problems of overthinking, and I experience these a lot. And so I hope that it is helpful and gives you some perspective. Maybe helps you feel like you're not alone, because I definitely have been prone and have even enslaved myself to my overthinking at times. As always, the podcast helps you with building your habits of self care and just understanding and getting to love yourself more, then definitely follow the podcast. A lot more good stuff coming soon. With that all said, we'll just jump right into it. So yeah, and the three things that I wanted to and the three things we're going to talk about are: one, you do nothing; two, you warp your beautiful thinking; and three, we create problems. And we're going to dive into each one. And as always, the podcast helps you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So the first thing is that you do nothing. So, and I think this is some reason I'm thinking of a roller coaster right now. I think of like when I went on my first roller coaster ride, there was a wait, there was all these other things, but it was going to be exciting. It was going to be good. And I remember talking with my cousin about it. And, if you think too much about something, it will prevent you from doing anything. And this is a powerful thought that I've really tried to adopt in my life and have just really tried to remember. It's like I can talk or think myself into doing anything, and I can talk or think myself out of doing anything. It's very important that you are aware that you're able to do that, because your overthinking will often do that. You'll be like, you know what, I should just do some homework, and I should just, do something simple and just get this writing assignment done, just start working on it. That'd be really good for future Dallin, future Susie, future Bob. That would be really good. And then the overthinker part's like, bro, like, we need to eat healthier. How about we go to the store? Or how about we just chill out for a bit? Because we could always use more chill time. So let's just chill out for a bit. And the funny thing with that, it's like, well, when are we going to stop chilling? We need to have other parts to this thinking process. And a lot of the time, I've discovered when you do really small stuff, it leads to other stuff happening. I was stressing a little bit about how my face needed to be shaved. So I shaved it, and then that put me on a circuit of getting other stuff done. I got on the roller coaster, so to speak, and that led to loop-de-loops, and it wasn't all great, it wasn't all groovy, but I got something done. I didn't stand waiting, wondering, fearing this roller coaster. I just went for it. And this is so dangerous because, I've done this all the time with different opportunities and things. I'll just think so much about it, or I'll research it a ton, and then I don't actually start the process. I don't get on the roller coaster. I don't really experience it. I experience everything in my mind, and my mind is great, but it's not my body, it's not my hands, it's not my ears, it's not my face, it's not my nose. You can't experience everything from your mind. I mean, you can visualize things, and that's super powerful, but like, yeah, it's not everything. It really isn't. So the truth can set you free, or it can hold you back. So be very careful of when your brain starts to overthink. Just be like, okay, am I gonna get on this roller coaster or not? Be very clear. Like, if you have, a history of like falling out of roller coasters, probably it's not good to get on a roller coaster. Do something else, water slide. I don't know, but do something, right? Do something. So the first thing is that, like, if you overthink, it's really easy to get on that feeling of like doing nothing. Whereas you're doing roller coasters and stuff, all of a sudden you're back to the waiting line, which is important, but you get a lot of time to think. You have to be very careful what you do with that thinking time. Secondly, we have warping your thinking, and this is something that I was thinking about as far as like the Super Mario Brothers video games, because I love video games. Is like, it's like you jump into a warp pipe and it brings you to some place that you weren't planning on going before, but was already like there. And maybe you didn't even want to go there. Maybe you just wanted to stay on this normal plane of thinking, And now you're in this completely different area that you didn't want to be, but it feels comfortable. And your brain's like, look, I'm putting in all this work for you. I'm thinking. And it's like, well, we got to do other stuff besides thinking, of course. And just, I don't know, it's really easy to see things super differently when you overthink. I've done this so many times I can't even tell you. Like, but oh, I could say this in the text, but then they might think that I am demeaning them or that I don't care about them. And this happens a lot of time with things that people don't do. It's like, oh, this person didn't text me back, or this person didn't show up for my podcast. That means I messed up. That's probably not the case. I did everything I could. I showed up. I was there. But it's really easy to have these other things and to paint yourself as the victim and to just let yourself just not have a good time. And I guess you can think of this as like, whereas you could think of this like as like getting on a roller coaster that isn't fun or is not good. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good way to look at it. But it's going to warp your thinking and change how you see literally everything. And so it's really important to look like at the facts. What is the truth of the matter? And this is something I've had to do with myself recently. Well, the facts are I started this podcast 2 years ago, almost 3, and I've been pretty consistent at it. And I've tried to meet new people with it, and I really care about people. And sure, I'm still not quite sure what problem this podcast solves, so it can reach a lot more people. But I have been trying and I have been learning, and that's really what's important. Those are the facts. Nothing can really change that. And so it's important to recognize those facts and to not let your overthinking like change the facts. And my dad tells me that attitudes are more important than facts. I think that's true a lot of the time, but it's also really important to be like, okay, how am I seeing this situation? And just calling yourself out on it. Like, that's baloney. We're not doing that, or that is a waste of time, or we know what happens when we do blank, when we lay down and it's really not time to sleep. But I get tired around like 3 p.m. So if I lay down, I'm probably going to fall asleep. And so I need to schedule like a coaching call or something, anything besides overthinking, because that is not a good thing to have in your plans. It warps your thinking a lot and takes you to places you don't really want to go. And soon it's like now you kind of get stuck in this loop and you just have to break it, but it just warps your thinking, and that's no bueno. No bueno. Finally, we have how it creates problems. I think this podcast episode has done a good job of like moving from thing to thing. First you're doing nothing. Now we have warped our thinking. Now we're creating problems. So good example is my English homework. I didn't do it on Monday. I didn't do it on Tuesday. I put it off to now. And now I've been thinking about it. It's like, oh, it's just going to take so long. It's going to be so painful. I'm going to be so tired. I'm not going to get anything done. I'm not going to get this podcast done. And like this flurry of thoughts literally came to my mind today. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to get it done because we just need to get it done. And yeah, when we think about problems that we don't have, eventually we will probably have them. And if we think of solutions that we don't have, eventually we'll probably have them. So I think a lot of it is really painting it for yourself. Like, is this a solution or is this a problem? Because problems, it's good to know about problems, and challenges and stuff. But we can't spend all our time thinking about that. That's just not very inspiring. I was listening, or I read a talk this morning a little bit, and it just said from Gordon B. Hinckley, one of my big person who's really inspired me, a previous prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He said, you will not build on pessimism and skepticism. You look with faith, you build with optimism, and things happen. That's what happens. That's how it goes. We don't need to create problems where there's no problems there. Yes, thank you very much. I mean, it's like that train episode I talked about, like how your mindset creates the tracks that your brain travels on. It's really important that we're not creating problems that don't exist. I mean, this is just mind-blowing. We have to be very careful with this. Like, I was thinking about when I got back from my men's choir class today, like, bro, I have all this stuff I need to do. And I'm already like, I'm already toast. It's already over and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, dude, like, We're just going to get it done. I still have like 25 days to figure out stuff. And even after that, it'll be okay. I'm still going to be me, and it'll be okay. You want the perfect time, and it's just not going to happen. You know, that's a lot of the. I think sometimes the problem is we want the perfect time for things to happen, and there's no perfect time, really. So we're like, oh, I want this to happen. And so we're thinking, like, when would be a better time to do this? And all of a sudden, we've changed. We're not in the mode of doing. Now we're thinking again. And again, thinking is important, but there is such a thing as overthinking. There's such a thing as overdoing. There needs to be a very clear marriage of the two. I don't know. You cannot have too much of one. There needs to be a lot of doing that. There needs to be some thinking, but if it gets to overthinking, that is no bueno. I'm speaking so much Spanish on the podcast today, and that's because I'm serious. Like, it is not good when you're doing a lot of overthinking. I think it's really easy to when you don't have as many things on your plate, or you have this time that's just sort of bleh. It's not anything yet. You have to create something with it. But if there's not something already created, if there's not a roller coaster for you already to ride on, it's really tough sometimes to create a roller coaster in like 5 minutes. I mean, you can create a plan, but it's nice if the thing's already planned out. Like when you go to an amusement park, the amusement park's already there. You don't have to do any thinking. You just go on the amusement park. It's fine. You've already done all the thinking. You can focus on doing. And when you overthink, it really does create problems that oftentimes really don't exist. And I would even say almost every single time do not exist, period. You can still get out of pretty much anything. You can figure it out. You can try new things. You can change. But you have to get out of that thinking pattern. You have to take some steps forward. Do something cool. I don't know. So yeah, there is hope. There's always hope, my brother, my sister. And overthinking, you can use it to your advantage. Thinking's a very powerful thing. I think super fast. That's very useful, but you just have to be very careful that I'm not creating problems with it. I'm creating solutions, because solutions are cool. So much cooler of a word, solution, than problem. Problem sounds like a problem. I need to move on, but overthinking really definitely can create problems. And that's it. Thank you so much for jumping on with the mic with me today, even though you weren't talking with me, you were listening. Again, those 3 things are: you do nothing, it warps your thinking, and you create problems that do not exist. As always, if the podcast helps you and has helped you and will help you, I don't know what I'm saying. I just really do appreciate you listening. This podcast has helped me so much with growing my voice. I hope it's helped you too. Let me know what you think at Yield to DF Down Podcast on Instagram. Love you guys, and just hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys again on Monday with that interview. It'll be good. So thank you so much for listening. As always, don't forget to yield today, and it'll be better tomorrow.